doing is so different, you may actually need to build a mock-up so that people can see and understand. But communication is very important because it's not just about you. We talked about needing resources to achieve your goal. So you're going to have to communicate to suppliers what it is you need. If there are other skills that you don't have that you're bringing people in, either as a partner or as a vendor, you need to be able to communicate what your plan is. Communication is very important.
Especially the bigger the project is, the more likely you're going to need financing and outside resources for that also. And obviously, you're going to have a very, very good plan put together and be able to communicate it to your possible sources for funding and that kind of thing.
Right. And sometimes just what you had for a plan is not sufficient because you understand what the plan says, but someone else might not. When my partner and I launched Support Info Go, nobody had ever done this before. Now, we thought it was a very simple concept. It's a calendar of support groups, of drug presentations, but at its heart, it's just an event calendar. So we thought, okay, well, that's simple. But because nobody had done it before, people did not understand what we were talking about. They thought we were talking about putting together events, and this would be a calendar of our events, rather than a calendar of everybody's events. There were a number of people that just did not understand. So we would take out a tablet, call up the website, and actually show them. And when they saw it, then they understood. So you may need to go beyond what's written in your plan to an actual mock-up, possibly a prototype if you're doing a product. But you have to do whatever it takes to get other people to understand what it is you're offering, what you need from them, or what you're providing them.
Yeah, and obviously using digital communications, videos, and that kind of thing is a really, really great way to get your point across. And it's something that you may want to test behind the scenes with the people you're working with, putting it together and asking them if they do understand this before you put that out there. But putting together a website or a presentation that has videos on that to explain what's going on for a reference point, for training and other purposes that you may run into is really, really important. And that's a really big advantage of being in the age that we're in right now.
All right, videos are a fantastic tool. And something to remember when using a video is that you don't necessarily have to have a working product. You can just do the video so that it looks like it's a working product, so that they understand what it's going to look like to the end user. Think of it in terms of making a movie. Star Wars, the Avengers, nobody actually built the spaceships. Nobody actually built a flying suit of armor. But on video, you can make it look like it works. You can do the same thing with your product or your service. You don't actually have to build it and then video it. You can use video magic to make it look like it's complete. And what you're actually completing is just a front end.
Yeah, which if you are inventing or reinventing a process or a product or so on and so forth, that's a great thing to do before you actually spend the money to make what you want to happen in the first place. Because if you can get reactions and figure out that it's not the way to go, or you need to go a different way up front before investing all kinds of resources in something that's not going to work, it's a great advantage to be able to use this technology up front to accomplish that.
All right, when doing software programming, for example, most prototypes don't actually work. They just simulate what it is they're going to do. And there could be on the back end a very limited number of choices that are going to work. I know a lot of software, especially search engines and directories and things like that, they're prototypes. They didn't actually have the software do anything. So they had somebody put in a search function, and then a person on the back end actually did the work and made it look like the computer did it. When you're putting together something to help communicate, that's fine. You don't need to have that final product. You just need to make it look like it will. This is what we're reaching for. And using video especially is very useful for people because they can understand it more if they see it happening.
Seeing is believing. So enjoyment. Obviously, you have to be doing this for some reason rather than to just get it done. And obviously, this is one of the things that I like the most, because if you feel accomplished in doing what you're doing and you've gone through the blood, sweat, and tears of that, it's time to celebrate and enjoy not only the process, but your accomplishments when you've done that.
Absolutely. The E in PACE is enjoy. And it's for you to enjoy your success. And it's not just the ultimate success. You need to enjoy all the little successes on the way. Every step you take is a success. Every time you move forward, you make a new partnership, you get a little further on the product. Every time you meet one of those interim goals, those are all successes. And it is very important for your mindset to enjoy those little successes. Because when you look at the big project, it can be overwhelming. But when you enjoy each little success, each little step, it propels you forward.
Yeah, has a lot to do with your mindset too, which we talk about a lot. I mean, there's two different ways you can look at everything. And if you can have that little pregnant pause when something happens and treat things in a positive sense, it's a great way to enjoy the whole process.
All right. Can you imagine what SpaceX would be like if they didn't enjoy every success? Their goal is to put somebody on the moon. Well, they've been going for years. They haven't gotten there yet. And when you're talking about that kind of long-term project, focusing only on the end can be very depressing, because everything you're doing, it's like, well, yes, but we're not there yet. But we're not there yet. But take a look at the successes they've had. One, getting the rockets, reusable rockets off the ground. Two, getting them to land so they can be reused. This has never been done before the way they did it. So every time they take another step forward, every time they have a successful launch, every time they send something up that docks with the International Space Station, they enjoy every one of those little successes, even though it's not their ultimate goal, because everyone moves them forward. And that is so important. You have to keep moving forward. And your mindset, your attitude is so important to that. You need to realize what you've already accomplished and enjoy that. So when you put all of that together, that's what we call PACE. So it's plan, act, communicate, enjoy. And it really is done in that order, even though there's a little bit of overlap in certain parts of it. Certainly, when you have to pivot, you go a little bit back to plan while you're acting. Communication, while you're acting, goes first. The two generally go hand in hand so that you're communicating what you're doing. And you should be enjoying it all along, but most of all at the end when you've really got it down. So when you pace yourself, It's a reminder not to get stuck in any one stage. As I said earlier, there are so many people that have great ideas, but they never act on them. They just keep planning and planning. Well, an idea is only an idea until you act on it. And we said, you can't do this all on your own. So you have to be able to communicate what you're doing with others. Certainly, the people who are helping you build it. But once you've got your product or service ready, you need to be able to market it. You need to be able to communicate to the folks outside why they need this, what this is going to do for them.
Yeah, and also get their feedback too of the customers that you're working with out there. That's a huge part of communications.
Absolutely. You always want to be getting feedback. The feedback is one of the ways you know if you have to pivot. So even though all of these stages meld together at points, it's important to move from one to the next to keep the progress going. So that's pace yourself. So we're coming up on the end of our time. So Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners about pacing themselves?
To me, I just love the analogy, pace. Plan, act, communicate, enjoy. It's a great template for handling your process from strategic planning through implementation to celebrating your success.
Exactly. I think the big takeaway for me is not to get stuck in any one segment. It all has to work together. You move from one to the other and keep moving forward. That's very important. If you stop moving forward, you don't reach your goal. So pace yourself to get to your goal. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, the iTunes Store, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.